The world is going to take your time. The world is going to want you to be busy, but not valuable. You have to fight the world to not be busy and valuable.
Hi, I'm Ryan Munsey, and welcome to the Move the Chains podcast. As an entrepreneur, best-selling author, performance coach, and keynote speaker, I help athletes, executives, and leaders win the mental game in order to take the next steps towards success. The Move the Chains philosophy is designed to help you build consistency by attacking your big goals one step at a time every single day. In this way, you don't get overwhelmed, you don't fall short, you don't give up. Every week on my show, I will bring you the best tools, tips, and lessons from other high performers to help you achieve your big dreams. This week, we're talking to Oscar Subirats. Oscar just has an amazing background, very versatile. Looking forward to diving into all of the things that we can talk about with Oscar. In over 2 decades, he's gone from the deepest trenches of sales to training hundreds of salespeople, to building a multinational corporation and impacting the lives of others through his teaching, speaking, and books. His passion is helping people, leaders, salespeople, experts in their fields, succeed and grow using game-changing framework that puts human skills over traditional sales skills. So, we're into mindset, mental performance, and making better decisions. So this is going to be a fascinating conversation. Oscar is also the author of Closing Intelligence, How to Get Others to Say Yes in Life and Business, and the podcast, Ask, Don't Tell. Oscar, I'm going to stop talking. Welcome to the show now.
Wow, that was. Can I leave now? Because that, you just set me up beautifully, and I don't know if I'm going to perform at the level that you've created. But thank you, Ryan. That was the best intro I've ever had. Thank you.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about your background before we get into some of the work that you've been doing. You're a college athlete, and this is something that we've had conversations before. And we really hit it off on a lot of our mindset. So I'd love to hear from your perspective. At what point did you realize mindset was important to playing and succeeding in sports at such a high level? And how did you then lean into it to continue to climb in your pursuit?
That's a great question. So first of all, I want to congratulate you because, you're asking me a question. If you look at my eyes, and I don't know, because some people are listening to Spotify or whatever, but I start going to the right and I start thinking these are questions that are digging deep in the heart, which is kind of what I do, obviously, in Ask, Don't Tell. And so it's not like a prefabricated cookie cutter. This is going to be good. It's going to make me think, right? And so, I would say that for me, I grew up from a family of athletes. My dad was a Davis Cup player for Mexico. That means he was basically a professional tennis player on the tour. He played college sports. My mother was a professional golfer. She played all over the world. They both played for the country of Mexico. And I think that the mindset there was that they always instilled to me, not that you have to win, right? Because some parents, I see them out there and we can talk about that in a little bit. I deal with a lot of parents in college, and high school kids and athletes. And there was never a pressure to you have to win. It was always you have to work as hard as you can to be as good as you can with the capacity that you've been given. And as long as you've tried your hardest and have given your all, life is going to reward you for that. Sports is going to reward for you. People are going to reward you for that. Because not only if you try your hardest, you're probably going to be good enough to get to that next level. You don't have to be the champion. You can be good enough to climb that ladder. And really, if you think about it in life, you don't always have to be the best. You have to be good enough to put yourself in the position for those opportunities to come. And I think that's a huge vision that my dad gave me, because I remember the one time he ever took me off the tennis court wasn't a time that I lost. It was a time that I was just tired and kind of not trying. And he said, look, if you don't want to play, he literally pulled me off the tennis court and he grounded me off from tennis for 3 months. Cause he's if you don't want to play the sport, don't play the sport. And I learned at that point that it was like he just wanted me to try my absolute best. So when it comes to like life and sports, Ryan, I mean, what can we learn from it? It's, you always got to give your best. And that's what I teach my 6-year-old.
You mentioned that idea of good enough. And I think a lot of times when we talk about performance, we use that phrase as a negative or a derogatory type of thing. But you make a really good point that you don't always have to be the best. You just have to be good enough to capitalize on the opportunities. Or, if we're talking about somebody looking for a promotion, or, you don't have to be all state or the team captain in order to get a scholarship to go from high school to college athlete. So can you talk about how maybe you would advise or coach somebody to, I'll say, be satisfied with the dissatisfaction?
Well, it's not that you're satisfied with dissatisfaction. I think that good enough, you're right, is a negative word, but think about it. Like, if you're up for a promotion, right? Let's say you're or up for a promotion, or let's say you're a business owner, or let's say you're an entrepreneur. You may not have the best website. You may not have gone to like Harvard. You may not be, but guess what? If you tried your hardest to give your best, to create the foundation where it says, look, I'm good enough to stand with the best, right? And then the customer gives you an opportunity because you were there. Like when they Googled, guess what? You're probably not the best, but maybe you showed up in the top 3 or 4. Hey, you were there. So maybe they did call you. And maybe you didn't have the biggest sales force, and maybe you didn't have the most revenue, and maybe you didn't have the biggest team or the prettiest website, but you were there. And you were called for that opportunity. And now once you got that opportunity, obviously now you can present, who you are. But what I'm saying is a lot of people, to answer your question, live in that defeated mentality where they're like, well, I'm never going to be good enough. I can never. So they actually never give themselves the opportunity to have the opportunity. So I always say opportunity comes when you start moving forward. Well, if your mindset is, well, I'm just not good enough. I'm never going to get the deal. You're just never going to be there. And so, for example, if we talk about college sports, I played for a top 21 D1 program, but I was the worst one on the team. I was literally the worst one. I struggled. Why? Because it was the number 1 guy from France, the number 1 guy from Brazil, the guy that had played Wimbledon. They were all superstars. But guess what? I was good enough to make that team. But that catapulted me into opportunities that I would have never had I said, you know what? They're too good for me. I'm not going to play D1 at a top 25. I'm going to go to a D2 school and just be the best one there. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's all well said. Those are great examples. And I'm not sure what order all these podcasts are going to launch in, but we had a similar conversation with one that's already been recorded with Aaron Coop. So for listeners, I'll put a link to that in the show notes. But Aaron had a really good point on that because she worked on Wall Street. And when you're talking about the example of somebody's college diploma, right? Like she almost felt like she had imposter syndrome because she didn't go to an Ivy League school. Right? And so I won't go too much more into that, but check that one out. We'll put the link in the show notes. Oscar, were your parents still active as professional athletes at a time where you were old enough to watch them?
No, they're old, they're older. So that just tells you that you think I'm young. So I'm 49 years old. And so I guess my parents they were past that. I mean, they met each other actually at a professional tournament. They had tennis and golf, and then it actually was in the news. Okay. And, but yeah, I did not get to see that. But I knew because just the way that, if I went somewhere, they would know the last name or whatever. But no, so I didn't see that, but they instilled in me those mentalities.
Yeah, and that's why I was asking. I'm curious if you didn't see anything from them, maybe on the court or on the course, were there things that you saw them do in their daily life that led you by example in terms of, this is how you put in the work to be as successful as you want to be in whatever your endeavors might include?
Well, absolutely. So both of my parents, they instilled to me the thought that entrepreneurship. So once they did that, so just so you know, Ryan, so, I was born in Mexico, so I'm a first generation immigrant. And my parents, they brought me when I was two. My dad got a job for Phillips Petroleum Company. Long story short, then the oil bust and whatever. So, but once that happened, I saw how they went from when he was working for corporate America to all of a sudden we didn't have. All of a sudden I'm a kid and we no longer live in the same house. The cars are gone. The club is gone. Like they had to reinvent themselves from scratch because it was either reinvent yourself or go back to Mexico, really. So I saw my parents go from selling door-to-door vacuum cleaners to selling life insurance, to selling real estate, to becoming brokers, to owning their own real estate firm, to having their own company. I saw how they had that mentality of, we're working as hard. We're going to work really hard to get the things we want in life. And there's no such thing as failure. There will be lessons, and this business might make it, but it's a lesson for the next business that is going to make it. So once my dad passed away, I saw he had filed bankruptcy on several companies for like 3 different times, right before he figured out, oh, real estate's my thing. But that's what I grew up with. I grew up listening to business talk over the table. I grew up to, how are we going to pay the bills? I grew up to, hey, we just won this huge deal. And I think that gives you a sense of, hey, things don't just come easy. You have to work for them. But again, they were never like the best. They were always good enough to provide for their family a great life. And so that's kind of the upbringing that I have. I don't know if I answered the question, Ryan, but that's how I grew up.
No, that's a great story. What, remind me the name, I don't want to butcher it, the name of your multinational company that is helping or English as second language athletes to get college scholarships and navigate sort of the sludge or red tape of the whole financial aid side of that industry.
Yeah. Yeah. So I said entrepreneur. So when I was 21 years old and I was a college athlete, I thought, okay, who's helping international students and athletes from all over the world come to the United States to study legally? And all these college coaches, they want kids from around the world and no one's helping them. So I own a company. I started a company where we help international student athletes from all over the world come to the United States. We've helped thousands of kids. It's called College Prospects of America. And so that's what we do. We go out and find kids who are deserving student athletes who come and play college sports, whether it be soccer, tennis, golf, or whatever. And we've helped kids from, just countries all over South America. We've helped kids from South Africa, Europe, Canada. So it's not just Latin America. And we just launched a foundation called College Prospects Education Without Borders, which actually finds donations to help some of the kids who may not be able to afford, to come here at all. So yeah, that's what we do.
Yeah. So if I'm doing my math correctly, you've been doing that for 28 years. That's a lot.
Yes.
It's a lot of kids in college.
That's a lot of kids in college that we've helped place. I'll tell you what. If we're talking like business here, there's a for-profit and there's a nonprofit, right? That helps. But at the end of the day, if you've done anything for 30 years and survived in the time where a lot of the names that we used to know, like a Blockbuster Video or it's something even I think, the gyms or, things just disappear.
Yeah. Circuit City.
Yeah. Circuit City. So yeah, for over 3 decades, we have College Prospects in America, which I still run. It still helps kids do this. And we've helped kids from countries that, we helped tons of kids from like Venezuela, for example, when a lot of kids back 10 years ago, the whole regime thing was happening and they were leaving. We've just helped a lot of kids, rich kids and poor kids. So
that's awesome.
they're
So the podcast that you have for that is the name of it translates to making the right choices or the right choices.
Wow,
I'm
your
just
Spanish is pretty good.
I'm
Yeah,
curious.
the podcast that I have for that, like again, I try to keep my worlds a little bit separate
Yeah.
because there's various things that I do. I would say that I'm actively involved in either running or owning at least 5 different businesses, right? So um, that one is called Caminos Correctos, and what we try to do is the following. So there is so much lack of information out there about college recruiting, college sports, college scholarships. I mean, there's so many myths and misconceptions, and people can get taken advantage of. So I launched a podcast that helps educate families on the recruiting process and what they need to do to actually come legally and play college sports in this country to do it. And they become a great asset to colleges and universities and to our country. And then they go home, and some of them may go home and serve their entire, become big executives or presidents in their own country. But yeah, I launched that podcast, and it's quite successful, actually.
That's amazing. And so I'm just curious. I mean, if you're the host of a podcast that's teaching people how to make the right choices, making great choices and choices that align with your goals and values is near and dear to my heart. So if you had to give a template, or I know it's impossible to do a blanket statement, but a repeatable framework for making the right choice, how would you advise people to set up that framework? And not just for choosing a college, but just in general.
So not within the realm of college, but just in general,
Yep.
like, okay. So give me an example of what you're wanting from me here. Cause I love where you're going, but give me more. I'm trying to figure out what exactly you give me an example. Give me an example.
A repeatable framework to make the right choice, whether
Okay.
you're a busy executive going out to eat and you know what you need to eat to hit your goals, but sometimes you struggle to order the right thing at the restaurant, or you run 5 different companies and sometimes you mismanage your time.
Right. So I will tell you that's an easy one. So I mean, I could go on and on about this. So if we're talking to like entrepreneurs and potential business owners, or just in life in general, life coaching, or I would say that the one thing that we as a society struggle with, and I think a lot of your readers or listeners are going to resonate today, is this idea that we have to be reactive in life. Like we have to be reactive. Like if somebody sends an email today, somebody sends a complaint today, somebody asks me for a decision today, somebody comes with an opportunity today, I have to react. I have to be reactive. I have to make a decision. I have to do this now because I'm ready to move on to the next thing, or I just want to, like, this reactiveness is like, it's a disease. The social media doesn't help. Text doesn't help. I mean, you see people all day. It's like, so I would say a template for my life that helps me make sound decisions. And I'm not saying I make terrible decisions just like anybody else. It's just that I'm just not a reactive person. And that's not something that comes naturally for me because I'm a go-getter. I have tons of energy. I want to do 1,000 things at the same time. I have huge dreams. I think big, but I've learned not to be reactive. I've learned to, if I get a text, it might upset you, but unless it's like my grandmother dying, you'll probably won't get an answer from me today, maybe tomorrow, maybe the next day, maybe when I know what the right decision is. An email, I'll let it soak. It might soak for 5 days if it's a non-value email, right? If it's something that somebody comes to me with an opportunity, or it's like, well, let me, I get what you're saying. I appreciate, but let me step back. Mm-hmm. And so I'm not a reactive person. And I think that framework is a key of who I am. It sometimes upsets my wife. I get it. But that's how and a lot with that comes, yes, and again, this is just something that I do, but I have quiet time in the morning. I have prayer time in the morning. And some of the times the answers to those questions or those decisions come in the morning when I'm just sitting there in my quiet time. And I'm like, okay, that's what I got to do. I'm going to go answer that. That I think is my framework. Is that kind of what you were looking for?
Yeah, that's a great answer. And now I'm curious. I think it's very different when it's text or email or Slack or whatever messaging thing that's electronic. How do you do the same thing in person?
Oh, how do you do the same thing? Wow. So in person, sometimes, well, that goes kind of the ask, don't tell. Like sometimes, we live in this, and again, we'll get there, but we live in a tell world where people want to talk, tell, and they just want to be heard. I flip the script and I do a lot of asking. Well, why do you want to do that? And why do you think that's a great? Why do you feel that way? And tell me a little bit more. And why do you feel that way? And it's not that I'm stalling. I'm trying to listen to what's in the heart and why this situation is presenting themselves, or why they're coming with me to this, or why there's this complaint. What did you expect differently, or what would a win look like? Or if you go into the world where you're trying to understand what the other person is thinking, you can stay back and say, "Hey, look, I get what you're saying. Like thank you." You might have the answer right there because now you know what they need, you know what they're searching for, and you might have the answer for them. But you might say, let me get back to you tomorrow on that one. I mean, unless you need a decision now, let me get back to you on that one. But most of the time when you dig deep into people's lives, you can pretty much know what the right decision is. So I would say that the answer to that is ask questions, dig deep. Don't just talk. Ask questions and think. And people are going to notice a difference. They're going to say things like, wow, these are good questions. Wow, what a great question. Wow. They're going to come up with, well, I never thought about it that way. Well, your question makes me think a little bit more about what I'm saying. So I would say that when in a personal, that's why I do it, read Closing Intelligence. But that's what it's all about. That's what Closing Intelligence literally is all about. How to get people to say yes in life and business? Well, you ask questions. You literally, in business and sales and life, with your employees, with your boss, ask questions. And then you are able to give the value of what they're asking for you or needing.
Well, since we're already on the topic, let's go ask, don't tell. Is there anything else to that you didn't cover in that answer?
Yeah, well, so like if I'm trying to give, so let's step back, for example. Like you asked me what a template that helps me, and I think a lot of your listeners, I mean, they're trying to build businesses or in their, I mean, what can my experience give to them? How do I do so many things at the same time? It's that A, you're not reactive, but B, is that you learn how to, two things. One is learn how to ask yourself the question, not what's on my task list today, but what do I need to do today to accomplish the goal that I have? So for example, if I have 5 different things to do, I ask myself the question, like, what's the value that I can create today? And what does the company need me to do today? It isn't what does the world need me to do today? It isn't what do I need to react today? It's stepping back and saying, okay, of all these things that I need to do, what is that most important thing? And I think what ends up happening is in the business world, we want to do everything, or we think we want to attack everything, but really all that matters is attacking the things of value that are going to grow the business. So if you're spending your time doing a bunch of D-level stuff that has no value, you're not going to grow. If you can put all that stuff aside and say, no, really, what do I need to do today? I think is a big thing for your listeners. That's a template.
Yeah.
That question.
Yeah.
So I just kind of wanted to throw that out there that I think would be of value to your listeners.
I'm curious now, what does your week look like or month? How do you set up your schedule so that you can keep things moving forward in all of your various businesses? Right.
So I'm part of, and I'm not going to mention the company here because this is not what the podcast. But so I'm one of the executives, executive directors, or one of the, I don't know what you call it.
You have a high level position.
The executive teams of one of the premier business coaching companies in America. And what we teach others is block time, and you have to have block time. So for example, my week, and not to commercial to that coaching company, but basically, what does my week look like? So I have Mondays and Fridays, I have them what I call days where I'm just kind of doing the things that the businesses need me to do. So that's answering emails. That might be a meeting with my team. That might be the things that are necessary for the business to operate. So you're working like in the business, like you that's what you're doing. Like without those two,
Right.
but I have Mondays and
Tasks
Fridays that I
and
do
busy
that.
work, not necessarily
Yeah, busy
high
work.
value stuff.
But what I do on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays is every Monday I say, what are those things that are going to create the greatest value for the company? Or what are the great things that I need to focus on this week that are actually going to move the needle? And I block out the world Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, which means that I'm not on Instagram. I'm not on social media. I'm not on my text all day. I'm not checking email. Yes, things are going to come and you're going to have to take care of them. But for the most part, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, I'm doing what I call A value stuff. Like the highest value stuff. I'm not having D-level meetings. I'm doing things that I know if they work out are going to grow whatever it is that we're doing. So that's how I separate my week out. And then every morning I literally say, well, what if I have this time, what do I need to do during that time? And so when I'm in my block time, I don't take calls. I don't look at my email. I don't let my 6-year-old run in here and it's an appointment with myself.
Yep.
It's, because here's the thing, Ryan, the world is not going to let you do this. The world is going to take your time. The world is going to want you to be busy, but not valuable.
Mm-hmm.
You have to fight the world to not be busy and valuable.
That's well said.
Does that make sense?
No, it makes total sense. It's well said. Your approach is very similar to mine, and I guess I've got two follow-up questions. One, you mentioned A-level activities and D-level activities. Is that just random for making a point, or do you actually rate or rank the types of things and then slot them accordingly?
Well, one of the things that I have, obviously, and it just depends so I have a whole team of, whether it be 1099 contractors, whether it be employees, whatever it may be. It took 30 years to get there. That doesn't start immediately. But so when you see the things that you have to do, you say, okay, you kind of know this is who can do this, right? Do I need to hire a professional to do this thing? Can I hire a temp? Can I hire someone from, Upwork to do this, D-level thing at, $20 an hour? So anything that's, how can I get rid of this place? And so I call that the delete. How can I delete this from my life? Because if I can delete this from my life, then I can get that time back to do this other A stuff. Mm-hmm. So sometimes, you do have to ask yourself, like, this thing that I'm about, is this an A or is this a D? What is this? Okay, this is a D level. Okay, how can I not do it? Maybe I need to defer it. Maybe I just need to move it for 6 months from now. Maybe I can design it out. Could I somehow work with AI or ChatGPT or a virtual assistant to kind of design out this little process? Or could I delegate it? Could I do that? So this is the stuff that obviously we teach in business coaching. Yeah. But that's how I live, my life. And I'm always saying, how can I not do this so that I can focus on this? So yes, for most of the part, I've designed my life, Ryan, at this point, because I'm 49, that I don't do any D-level stuff. Someone somewhere else is going to do that. And I've learned over time that trying to recreate the wheel and save a couple bucks is going to cost you a heck of a lot more than just hiring someone that knows how to do it. So like a website, you can spend 6 hours doing it, or just pay some dude on Upwork to do it in 3 hours. Okay, what could you have done with that time?
Yep. And even if they don't do it faster, even if they do it in the same 6 hours, to your point, what could you have done in those 6 hours instead of something that isn't your high value activity?
Right. That's going to make you a lot more successful than the website that you thought you were going to put together to save $100.
Right. Is saving $100 worth not having those 6 hours to do something that might have brought in 10, 20, 30,000 in revenue for your business, like depending on the business. Right. And so no, this is like, I think maybe some listeners might be thinking like, well, why are we talking about scheduling and time management? But I really appreciate you sharing what you're helping businesses and business leaders work on, because these are the exact conversations I have on coaching calls with business leaders of, 8 and 9 figure companies. Like
Right.
people get sucked into meetings that are, so the way I learned this lesson is be Bono. And the analogy is like Bono, the lead singer of U2. If you go to a U2 concert, you want Bono writing songs prior to the concerts, and you want him singing songs on stage, nothing else. You don't want him parking cars in the lot. You don't want him slinging nachos at the concession stand. You don't want him selling merchandise. Now, that doesn't devalue those things. Those are all part of an amazing tour and concert experience. But Bono should not be managing those things. And if you're Bono at whatever it is that you do, like that's what Oscar and I are talking about. Like if doing a website is your equivalent of Bono slinging nachos, you need to delegate that. And I think this is, again, like it always, like I find it funny and almost baffling that I teach this, because to me, it's like when I think of high performance and I watch athletes or whatever, like managing your time does not seem like something that is sexy or, crazy cool that falls into like, how do I become a badass? But it really is. And so I really appreciate you bringing this up and sharing these things.
Let me make a point there, because I think that we don't want to miss it, because you're almost saying, oh, I get that people would say, well, give me some more substance besides time management. But I'll say this. I don't care if it's trying to play college sports or playing professional sports. I don't care if it's running a company. I don't care if it's your family. I don't care if it's you working out. 90% of success is time management, literally. Because if you make the time and you don't waste your time on stuff that is of no value, you will create success. Because guess what? You waste energy, wasting energy that's wasted. So if you manage your time properly, you will have the energy to do things of value. So I would almost say, if you're listening to this, you better take my time management seriously. And I tell my 6-year-old all the time, Mila, the secret to success, and I won't say time management, is organization. But organization is the same thing as time management. If you are organized in life, you're going to succeed.
The other thing you said a few minutes ago that I wanted to highlight was you mentioned that your blocks of time for A value or high value work are appointments with yourself. And I think that's another one that folks, I'll say mess up or misunderstand, don't value. Like if you have an appointment on your schedule to go do your workout or write, if you're trying to write a book or whatever your high value activities are, look at that the same way you would as if you were meeting the person that you have tremendous respect for. You wouldn't no show on that person. You wouldn't cancel. You wouldn't not show up or whatever it is. And that's another one where we'll let ourselves down or off the hook far more than we will someone else. And so like that, and that then gets into some of the science of like why you need an accountability buddy or a workout buddy, right? If you know your partner's going to be at the gym at 5 a.m, you're way less likely to sleep in and not show up if you're going to leave that meeting, right? But to your point, Oscar, seeing those as appointments with yourself that are mandatory and non-negotiable, that's another one that really helps in the execution part of implementing something that is planned and organized.
Right. But I mean, there's nothing more valuable for that you're going to create the time. And people are saying, well, what about your family? Well, yeah, there's time for your family. Yeah. That's also a chunk of time that you would time manage.
Absolutely.
So
absolutely.
People ask me, how do you do all these things? Do you sleep? I was like, I sleep great, man. I sleep 8.5 hours. Like, do you? No, we sleep 5 hours. It's like, no, like if you manage your time properly and you learn to do the things of value, you can succeed without sacrificing your business and your life and things like that.
Absolutely. So let's shift gears a little bit. I want to talk about sales training. Let's talk a little bit about the psychology of decision making first, and then sort of get into some of the training. So how do you leverage what you know about how we make decisions to help salespeople get the results that they want?
Well, first of all, I come from the premise that, you say salespeople. I literally take the way sales and I say people. I say we're all salespeople to someone,
Yep.
whether it be to our boss, to our kids,
Mm-hmm.
to our spouse, we are, or whether it's our job,
Mm-hmm.
or whether we're in business development, but we don't like being called salespeople, or we're tech and engineer.
Yep.
We have
Or
to
trying
sell
to
our
get your
ideas.
boss to sign off on a
Yeah.
project that
I
you
mean,
want to
we are
do.
all
Yep.
sales people. So the way that I get people to start making decisions that way is to first understand and accept the fact that if you can just get a little bit better at sales, which is communication, which is human empathy, which is human skills, which is rapport, which is, asking better. If you can get better at that, okay, if you're a salesperson, you're gonna increase your closing rates. But if you're just a person, you're gonna have more success in life. You're gonna be happier. You're gonna get more yeses. You're gonna communicate with people better. People are gonna want to be your friends. They're gonna want to hang out with you. Why? Because you have these skills that they're almost electrifying. People want to be around people that are like them, or like so. I come from that perspective. And if you first get that perspective, then I can teach you certain skills that help you communicate better with people. But all of sales is learning how to communicate better with people to understand what they're needing, so that then you can offer them the right solution for them to say, yes, let's work together. It's not that complicated.
All right. You told us earlier to ask questions. What are some other ways to improve our communication?
So it all goes back to asking questions, but I would say that, so one of the things that I really teach people on is kind of rapport. Like we live in this world that sometimes asking questions is not enough if you haven't taken the time to build rapport with people. Now, building rapport and asking questions can be similar in itself, but I also kind of train people that in the business world or in the corporate world, and some of the clients that I have are like these huge corporations that are moving these, millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars of tech, and they don't see themselves as, and they have very long sales cycle. And I say, half the time, if you just learn better to communicate with people in the aspect of building rapport, of them getting to like you, and you being able to have, a little conversation before you get down to business. And if you learn how to do that better, you're actually going to shave your sales cycle. Why? Because they're going to want to do business with you. You're not going to be the person that just walks in there and starts talking tech. You're not going to be the person there who just starts talking about how great their company is and how great. No one cares. Like, let's human skills. So Aston comes out the human skill. Let's connect first, and then let's do business. We both want to do business, but if we connect first, I want to do business with you. So one of the things that we forget about in today's world is how important human skills and communication and understanding and empathy and taking an interest in the other person. And here's the big thing, Ryan: learning from the world around you. So you and I could probably communicate all day long because you're an athlete and I'm an athlete. But let's say you came up to me and you're trying to sell me something, we're trying to do the business, and I say, oh, I hate sports. I don't watch sports. I can't stand sports. No. We're done. We're done. So I may not like sports, but if I simply take the time to understand a little bit of golf, a little bit of tennis, a little bit of baseball, and I find out what's going on in the world, guess what? When Ryan comes up to me and he's a sports fan, I can say, I can at least have a conversation, and now at least then we can do business. That's what people miss. It's not about us. It's about the world. And the more we know about the world, the more we can serve others.
I think that's a great point. I'll also add that I could take some of the responsibility, and if I know you don't like sports, I could find out what it is that you do like. Maybe you like music or have a background in music, and maybe that's an area where we could connect, or something else. This is something that I have found as a coach. I like to explain concepts in just as you said, like the world that person is familiar with. So if I know somebody comes from a gym background or works out, maybe I can use an example or an analogy of the concept in the fitness realm or sports or music. But you're absolutely right. When you can talk to people about things in the language and the world that they're comfortable with, the concepts become much more easy to understand. And that's beyond just building the rapport as well.
Right. Well, and here's the thing. You're saying if you took the time to but that's the problem. Most people that I train don't think like this, right? They think about, I'm going to go in there, I'm going to give them my product, I'm going to pitch about my business, I'm going to pitch about me, I'm going to talk about me. That's the tell world.
Right.
When you shift it and you say, wait, stop. It's not about you. Then you would do what you just said. But you understand this because you coach people. But this is why you coach people, because you understand this. So I think our listeners are getting some great feedback here. But if we were all like that, I think we'd have less problems in the world.
I don't disagree with that at all. If everyone sought to understand before making judgments or coming to conclusions, things might be different.
I mean, do people want to be sold or do they want to be understood? They want to be understood. Sales is not that hard. If I can get you to feel understood, I can sell you something. Problem is, I teach people how not to sell, how to sell without selling, which is what we're talking about, which is, you understand me? Oh, now tell me how you can help me. Oh, so you actually want me to talk as a salesperson? Yeah, because now you understand me. I want to know how you can help me. We don't do that. We as salespeople or as people that are not trained in sales just go and talk. We think we have to pitch. Right. And that's what I train people not to do, basically.
It's almost fascinating to me that people are trained that way in the companies and in today's world that you work with, that, if the company or the people didn't hire you or seek you out for, professional development, that they would still be selling in that manner.
Yes. Well, the reason it's like that is because most salespeople are told, go sell something, or, hey, you're a great engineer. Now you're BD, go open doors, go. And they just don't know what they're doing. So people only know what they know, and they've only been told what they know. And what do they know? Okay, I got to talk about my product, got to pitch my product, got to pitch about me and try to get you to. So it isn't, you only do what you do in life because you don't know better. Right. And that's why it's so important to get coaches or consultants to help you get better, because it isn't that they're trying to be salesy. It's not that they're trying to pitch to you. It's like they just don't know better. And even trainers out there, there's a lot of trainings out there, a lot of sales trainings that are based on pitching scripts, powering through. I call it bullying. It just doesn't work in today's world. I mean, it just doesn't. Like we're so tired of being sold in today's world. It just doesn't work.
I'm curious if there's an opposite side to this coin, where I think for somebody like you who understands marketing and sales and all the tactics and techniques, do you find yourself, I'll say, intentionally trying to be hard to sell to in certain instances?
So there's actually two answers to that. One is, it's really hard to sell to me. All right. Because I'm always analyzing, like, this person's just pitching.
Right. Like, the game, you know what they're doing.
It's like, I almost feel bad for this person. Okay. Well, tell me how great you are. Tell me about your company. All right, whatever. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Here comes the pitch. Okay. Yeah. Now you're going to ask me 3 questions. Like, it's like the script, right? You ask me they'll start out with one question. Blah, blah, blah. They'll ask a question. Oh, well, thank you and then they'll just go. Right. And it's like, yeah, what time? So when that happens to me, when it's an untrained salesperson, and they're just kind of pitching to me, I've lost. And sometimes it's so hard for me not to, like, okay, like, thank you for telling me, look, let me tell you how you could have done this better. I'm not going to buy from you, but I think I can help you. And so I'll, let me tell you why I'm not going to say yes. You could have done this. And then they'll just look at me like, well, thank you. Some will say thank you. And some will be like, but the other side of that coin is My wife won't let me be in any sales situation at all. Why? Because she knows that if I get a salesperson that I respect, that actually asks me questions and connects with us and just has a conversation and connects on a human level, she knows I will say yes every single time. And I will actually help him close the deal. I will actually look at my wife and say, so Andrea, besides all the excuses that you're giving, is there any reason why we're not telling him yes? Like I will become his best salesperson. So she doesn't let me do it. So we just like had a beautiful deck installed in our house, and she went through a bunch of contractors. I was not allowed to be in a single conversation with any of those contractors, because if I was and I liked them, the decision would be made on the spot. And I mean, I even had one contractor lady that came over 3 times, and I was like, there's no way you've come to my house 3 times and still don't have this deal. I literally have a copy of Closing Intelligence. I gave it to her. I say, if you read this book, you would have already had this deal. Like, you've already been here 3 times. The lady, my wife's not going to buy from you. Okay. Like, stop wasting your time in the pitch. So I don't know if that answers your question, but it is a little bit of, you learn to respect people that actually want to take the time to communicate with you and care about you and they don't want to sell you something. So I teach people, again, how to sell, how to get yes without selling.
All right. So Oscar, remind our listeners where they can find you and all of the relevant podcasts and books. You got Closing Intelligence, and then the podcast is Ask, Don't Tell, but what else?
So you can just reach out to me at oscarsubarats.com. You can also go to closingintelligence.com. You can pick up a Closing Intelligence on Amazon, or you can listen to our show Ask, Don't Tell on Spotify. And if you're on the website oscarsubarats.com, there is my email. If you want to reach out to me, I'm happy to answer questions or anything that you like. I don't hide. I'm not reactive. I might not answer you that day, but I'll answer you.
All right. We'll put links to all that stuff in the show notes, make it easy on everybody to find. Final question for you, Oscar. What would be your biggest or number one piece of advice for somebody who wants to be more consistent or better at moving the chains?
Oh man, that's a good one. I honestly would say, I mean, for me, it's been get help. Get help, because it goes back to, some of us are told, I mean, if you're a DIYer, a do-it-yourself kind of person, I'm one of those, and I'm sure Ryan, you are too. I always believe I can figure it out. But I spent so much time in my adult life trying to figure it out. And I'm at a point in my life that it's like, you know what? I'm not going to try to figure it out. I'm going to go to people like Ryan. I'm going to go to people like Oscar. I'm going to get those people that can actually help me. And I'm not trying to give a commercial. Like, this is the way I live my life. Like right now we just opened up this nonprofit for the sports thing. And it's like, okay, what do I have to do? And what are the things that I need to get somebody else to do? Like, I don't have to reinvent the wheel. So I would say that read books. I mean, if you don't want to go read books, listen to podcasts, get help, reach out to Ryan. That's actually the way that you, in my opinion, scale. Get business coaching. That's the way that you scale the fastest, because it's not what you think you know or what you can do yourself. It's everything else you don't know. Everything else that you don't know that other people have already figured out, and that they have already reinvented the wheel and have the roadmap. That's what's going to get you to move the chains faster.
That's a great answer. Oscar, I just want to point out that we're recording this on a Wednesday. So this somehow we must rate as an A activity for you. We appreciate you making time on a Wednesday for us.
So Wednesday is but I think that, the reason we ended up on a Wednesday, this is actually a block day. But I usually do these kind of recordings on Thursday, but I think I was traveling and I wasn't able to we weren't able to do this, but Wednesday at 2 was when it landed. But thank you for also being patient with me because I know I rescheduled on you several times. So thank you, Ryan. I think this has been great.
It's been a lot of fun. Thanks for being on the show. Everybody listening, thank you for being here. I'm excited for the conversations and guests to bring you in the future. Every week, we're going to bring you tips and tools on how to use Move the Chains in your day-to-day life with real-world examples from my life, my coaching clients, friends, other high-performing, successful folks just like Oscar, so that we can see how they have their version of Move the Chains to fuel their successes. So thanks for listening. Make sure you subscribe to the Move the Chains podcast wherever you listen to podcasts so you get notified of new episodes. And if you dig what you're hearing, please leave us a review. Those do really help. And share this episode with somebody that you know who could benefit maybe from some organization and time management or anything else that Oscar shared with us today.